Over my years as a realtor in Waterloo region, I've had the pleasure of meeting plenty of successful person. Here are some of their stories. Welcome to People Around Town. I'm excited. I wanted to say honored, but I liked this guy when I first met him. I'm going to go with about 14 years ago.
Yeah, about that.
I think it was the first office warming I think I had ever been to, with office warming for Cute Gecko, I believe, at the tannery.
Yeah, we shared space with them. I was with Sustainable Waterloo Region at the time.
Yeah.
I had a bit more hair back then.
Yeah.
So it was a few years back. But to me, back then, we were in similar entrepreneurial circles at the time.
I remember that time fondly. So that's your pre-introduction. This is the true introduction, even though he doesn't really need much of an introduction in Kitchener-Waterloo. The whole area should be all of Canada, because this was the man with cause and not caucus, I guess you could say. That was I like that one. This was the Green Party lone wolf representative at Parliament through the pandemic, no doubt, or at least the tail end thereof. No, you're right through the heart of the pandemic. And this is the one and only Mike Morrice. You could say Mike Morrice. I think as a tough-skinned politician, it takes more to do that. Mike, honored to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
And forever be one of your fanboys. And people, by the way, think that he stole my hat. No.
Let's go there first.
Let's just go there. He didn't. What you see right here is a 6-pane.
Wow, how many panes are on mine? I don't even know.
No,
it's not. You're right.
Right. So it's not my hat.
There's that mystery solved.
It never was. So people that are trying to divide us over small issues like that, right? My suggestion to them is you go down on King Street, right? And it's not the Bentan restaurant. It's the big Asian supermarket, right? You go into the seafood aisle, right? And you find the biggest fish possible. You take it home and you fry it up. Why? You need bigger fish to fry. Okay? That's the answer that Mike Morrice, I'm so happy that you joined me right now and so proud of you. And please tell me officially you haven't quit. You're coming back.
Oh, not at all. Yes, absolutely. I shared back in, my partner and I took some time over the summer to reflect. And I just feel like there's nothing else I can do with my time that would have a bigger impact and make a bigger difference in the world than what I was doing in Ottawa.
Right.
And that sense of kind of no bullshit, it felt pretty existential when I ran for the first time in 2019.
Yeah.
I saw that come to life when I got some things done in Ottawa over my time there. And given how close it was last time, we know that the support is in this community. Not to mention the number of folks who approached me afterwards who said, "Oh, Mike, if only I'd known, maybe I would have done such and such." And so, I just feel like there's so much still to do. There are a lot of folks who are really hurting in our community. They deserve to have a voice, whether that's folks who are living unsheltered, folks living with disabilities, the number of people living below the poverty line. You look at the price of groceries.
Yes.
There's meaningful work we can do on all that, and I want to get back to doing it. So I will be running again. I've shared that already. And then, as you might also know, have stepped in as a deputy leader with the Green Party of Canada over the last few months.
Yes, good.
And so that gives another chance to just give another platform for the issues that a lot of folks in our community care about. And we'll be ready whenever it is. We don't know when the next election will be.
Yes.
Could be in 2 months. Could be in 2 years. That's outside my pay grade.
Yes.
What I can be doing is making sure that we're, putting in the work throughout and ready for whenever it ends up being.
Now, with not being at Parliament right now, you have some more time.
Yeah.
I would hope that, time flies. I'm sure that 4-year term was quick.
Yeah.
Time flies. What are you doing right now to fill your time? And this isn't from an occupational standpoint. Like, you seem busy. It was tough enough to track you down for this. I'm happy you did and set aside enough time. what are you doing right now? What's Mike doing right now?
Well, first, let's talk about how this came about.
Okay.
Pretty sure the impetus for this conversation is I was knocking on doors.
Yes.
And bumped into Jacqueline because I was on your street.
Yeah.
And so part of it for me is staying connected to folks from across our community. Mm-hmm. And not only those that I might hear from on a regular basis going to Holly's, but folks from right across Kitchener Centre.
Right.
So that means I'm still doing chats in people's kitchens, still making calls across the riding, still knocking on doors. That remains really important to me because that's how you stay connected to the lived experience of so many people across Waterloo Region and Kitchener Centre in particular. The second thing that's really been, I mentioned to you already, is my partner and I had a daughter this summer.
So cool.
And it's been, she's turning 6 months in just a few days.
Yeah.
And I feel like such a cliche talking about it because it's been such a meaningful experience. But yeah, getting to be a dad and just being present over this time with Lyndon has really meant a lot. The last piece is, because, I like to stay helpful in the community. I took on a part-time gig with Capacity Canada.
Oh, okay. Did not know that.
Yeah, so they're an organization in our community and working across the country that builds capacity in boards for nonprofits and charitable organizations. And when I thought about, how can I be a helper in this in-between time? Well, I've started nonprofits, scaled organizations, but also have some experience now of, whether it's government relations or fundraising, engaging with government in various ways. And so I've taken on this part-time role. The formal title is executive in residence.
Okay.
But in practice, what it means is I'm available to any nonprofit or charity in Waterloo Region to support them, whether it's in their board or their leadership around the good work that they're doing.
Love it.
So, of course, as an MP, I worked with a lot of these organizations, helping them raise money.
Yes.
It's been pretty fun now as a member of the community to be alongside organizations that I really believe in and leaders that I believe in. And it's a sliding scale too. There's some funding at Capacity Canada for it. And so it means that I've been able to support some pretty grassroots organizations in ways that really have felt great.
Now, with them, did they find you or did you find them?
Yeah, so they reached out over those first few weeks. It was, there's some grief in those first few weeks also.
Sure.
From the election loss.
Yeah.
And a lot of opportunities started to come forward as well. And, for a lot of former MPs, they end up at law firms, doing GR of some kind.
Right.
And so when an old friend from Capacity Canada reached out, it was Stephen Swatsridge, who had led Kids Ability over many years. And they had expressed an interest in having a conversation. It was one of those things where it just felt so perfect.
Yeah.
Because it's, it's part-time, so it still allows me time to be out in the community knocking on doors and all that. And it lets me, focus on something that I have some experience with. If a nonprofit in our community wants to raise some money, well, I'd love to help them to do that, to do the good work they're looking to do. It's been a lot of fun.
So I'm curious, before Sustainability Waterloo Region, what was your education process, or what other positions did you take on?
So I came to Waterloo Region for school. So I came here for Laurier, grew up in Montreal.
Montreal, okay.
Went to high school in a suburb north of Toronto. Came here like many as a result of one of the 3 post-secondaries. Mm-hmm. And stuck around because towards my end of my time at Laurier, had this idea and some anger around the lack of action on climate.
Sure.
But tried to, match that frustration with the political inaction with my training, which was as a business student.
Okay.
So I studied business and computer science at Laurier. And so I tried to pair that, ended up writing a business plan. That business plan became Sustainable Waterloo Region.
Oh, fair.
And so I stepped into that work as a social entrepreneur coming out of university and continued in that. Spent 5 years at Sustainable Waterloo Region, and then other communities across the country were asking about taking our work and bringing it to their community.
Yes.
And so then we started Green Economy Canada to share the model across the country.
Yes.
And did that right up and until I ended up taking a step back in order to run in 2019.
Okay.
And so one kind of fed into the other in that, I feel very fortunate to have spent time in, you can call it work, but it feels more like a contribution.
Sure.
That feels so values aligned, right out of university and right up and until my time as an MP, which really, was born out of a frustration again with, there's only so much that can be done without, federal action.
Okay, well, that's fair. And now, when the Green Party was first formed, I think you can answer this question. Were you immediately aligned? Or were you a person without party before that? Did you have to switch party lines? Did you know, I guess you weren't frustrated enough then, so did you know that you were going to be a politician? Like, how did that graduate in and of itself?
When the Green Party was first formed, I was not yet born.
Right. No, sorry. Fair enough.
I get where your question's
going. When you first became aware of the chance that this was actually a real party. Sorry to say.
Not at all. So to me, the core of the question is...
Dumb question. Yeah.
No, why choose the Greens at all?
Yeah.
So when I decided to run, I was not a member of a political party.
Okay.
Most Canadians are not members of political parties, right? It's like less than 2% of Canadians are card-carrying members of any party.
True.
And I wasn't one of them. And when I decided to run, it was more around this sense of frustration around the housing crisis, around climate, and a sense that, like, if the federal government gave a shit, they could do so much more to address the underlying issues that are leading to so many people not being able to afford housing in our community, and leading us to be on the wrong side of climate and taking away a safe future from our kids and our grandkids. So none of that, involved the Green Party to start.
Okay.
And some people have assumed that the Green Party came to me, which wasn't the case. When I decided to run, I actually reached out to the Greens. To understand better their approach, because I wanted to choose a party that I felt like I could stay true to myself.
Sure.
A lot of folks have asked me in the years since, why not just switch to one of the big parties where you have an easier chance of getting in and staying in?
Sure.
For me, the answer to that question today is the same as it was back then, which is that the Greens allow me to do this in a way that holds on to my integrity.
Sure.
So their values are my values. Values like nonviolence and participatory democracy. I don't have to become something I'm not.
Okay.
But then even further, they're the only party that encourages their MPs to put their communities ahead of the party.
Oh. Okay.
Which to me
Perfect.
means that you can really be a voice. And when I was in Ottawa, I was a voice for Kitchener Centre more than anything else.
Right. Okay.
And in the last few decades, political parties have taken more and more of that power away from individual MPs. Well, as an example.
Do individual MPs in other parties actually have the power to not truly go on party lines from what you've seen?
I can tell you some of the facts.
Okay.
Fact is, the Samara Institute puts out the stats on what percentage of the time do MPs vote along party lines.
Right.
So there's around 171 Liberals at the time of this recording.
Yes.
119 odd Conservatives. What percentage of time do all of those MPs vote the exact same way? It's about 99.5% of the time.
Terrible.
So, is it possible to vote differently?
No, so sorry, party lines would that include yourself? Because wouldn't you be deemed to be the party line within at Parliament?
Party lines would be to say they all vote the same.
The same.
What percentage of the time? If
so
you look
you'd
at
be 100% of the time when you were.
Well, in my case, actually, there was a second Green MP, Elizabeth May.
Right. Okay.
So I was actually, truthfully, lone wolf in terms of Greens. Well, actually, not even lone wolf in Waterloo Region anymore, because Aisling Clancy is a Green MPP in Waterloo Region.
No, but I meant.
But I was the only Green MP in Ontario.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And I would joke that I was half of the Green Party caucus because it was myself and Elizabeth.
Sure.
And to me, the proof was in some of the most difficult votes. And I'll bring up one of the most contentious in my time as an MP.
Feel free to bring up whatever you like.
Well, and you know, it's still to this day fairly contentious. To this day, when I knock on doors, folks who disagree with me on my vote on the Emergencies Act
Yes.
will bring it up with me.
Sure.
But the reason I bring it up is that on that vote, Elizabeth and I voted differently. And up until that point, I had been told by the party
Yes.
that, you know, of course, we're going to seek consensus. We're not trying to disagree. But the reality is that my job is to be a voice for Kitchener Centre, and Elizabeth's is to be a voice for Saanich Gulf Islands within the boundaries of the values of the party.
Okay.
And so on some of those most difficult votes, we did still vote differently. I think most of the time we probably voted together, but it certainly wasn't 99.5% of the time.
True.
And, you know, to your earlier question, what's also factual is there is a taxpayer-funded role in the big parties called the party whip. That's a real thing.
Feel free to go deeper. This sounds fun.
So the party whip is an MP. So MPs get the same base salary across the board.
Yes.
And then certain MPs who have special jobs. So if you chair a committee, if you're the prime minister, that gets you an extra base salary.
Okay.
Of course, all those salaries are taxpayer funded. One of those roles that's appointed by the party is the party whip.
Okay.
That terminology.
Does that stand for something, or are they just
whip,
flat out
there was
call it
a
the
whip as in like discipline.
Oh, fine. Okay.
So it's a metaphor, I guess, for that person's job is not just to make sure you all vote the same, but it's also to make sure those MPs are voting at all.
Yes.
To make sure they're not forgetting that a vote's about to happen while they might be, you know, speaking at an event in Montreal. They need to use the app and make sure they vote. The whip, their job is to make sure that they do that.
Surfing into Fino. Yeah.
That's another option.
Yep.
But whatever the case, you know, that is a function. So to your earlier question, it is possible for MPs to vote differently. I've never been in one of the big parties, so I'm not the best person to describe that experience to you.
I think you are the best person to describe. No, not the experience, but to describe what it actually is.
What I have seen is the other parties do get a piece of paper delivered by the pages that tells them what the party line is in case they forget what the standard was supposed to be. And if you're a bit of a maverick, you know, MPs will negotiate and vote differently from time to time.
Right.
To me, that's actually the point where we can talk about some optimism for our democracy, that it's not all kind of shackled by the parties, because I saw votes in my time as an MP where other MPs listened to their constituents and broke party lines.
Right. Well,
so
let's move straight to that.
Great. So I'll give you the example. So a lot of folks in our community are still upset that the Prime Minister promised 1,800 times that 2015 would be the last election under first past the post.
Ah, yes.
First past the post being the jargon to say this winner-take-all divisive way of electing people in ridings across the country.
True.
We're one of the last OECD countries not to move towards what's called proportional representation, where every vote counts, and X percent of the votes equals X percent of the seats for that party in the legislature. Now, I put forward a motion that didn't even say we're going to change it. We just said, let's start a regular group of people who can get expert opinions, but they're nonpartisan, so they don't stand to benefit, who can then make recommendations back to the elected MPs on what's the best way of electing people for Canadians.
In the most democratic manner.
That's right. So I put forward that motion. I worked actually with the NDP to make sure that motion got to a vote. And in the weeks before it got to a vote, I actually worked with a national organization called Fair Vote Canada, who really do all the work around building support for improving our democracy across the country, alongside other organizations. They engage volunteers in ridings right across Canada to seek out meetings with their MPs. And I raise all this to say, whenever you speak with somebody who says, oh, you know, it's all just corrosive and my voice doesn't mean anything. Well, here's an example where people emailed their MPs about a very specific thing. They said, please vote for this motion to create a citizens' assembly.
Okay.
They then sought out conversations with those MPs, and they showed up in numbers. And those MPs got to see for themselves the number of constituents who cared about this issue. And so we can look at Waterloo Region as an example. On that vote, when it came to the day of the vote, the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party, the party line was against.
Okay, yes.
In Waterloo Region, we had there are 5 ridings in Waterloo Region. 1, myself, was a Green. 4 were Liberals. If you look at the 5 ridings, 3 of the 5 MPs voted for this motion.
Awesome.
Meaning, if it was up to Waterloo Region, we would have passed the motion.
Yes.
The motion also received the most dissenting votes of any vote in the session of Parliament that I was a part of.
Wow.
So 39 Liberals and 3 Conservatives all broke party rank, voting for the motion against their parties to support this very reasonable idea. And when I spoke with them afterwards, I said, why did you do that?
Yes.
That was a bold move for you to break party rank like that. Time and again, they told me because their constituents had met with them.
Wonderful.
So, yes, it is deeply partisan right now. Mm-hmm. And increasingly since the 70s, the Prime Minister's office and the parties have taken a lot of that control. It is still possible in between elections, let alone at election time, but in between elections to influence MPs based on, showing you've got the numbers that it's in their interest to follow the interests of their constituents. For me, though, when I, getting back to the original question,
sure,
I didn't want to have to lie.
Right.
I didn't want to have to ever, play a political game.
Right.
And I felt like as a Green, I could, not that we all agree on everything, even you and I, but if we went through a list, but at the very least, even back to that vote on the Emergencies Act,
right,
I posted a blog that said, here's my rationale.
Sure.
So at least you can know
where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I wasn't voting the way I did because Elizabeth told me to.
Sure.
I really felt that legally there were not the grounds. And let's go through the long list of the rationale on it. Mm-hmm. So you can see the thinking behind. To me, that's what we should see more of. And that's where we can actually encourage MPs to put their communities first.
To do what they need.
Because what we end up seeing alternatively, when MPs break party lines, often the headline is, they lacked discipline.
Sure.
They weren't a team player.
Sure.
And then we criticize that party or that MP. And to me, I think, well, that's just another perverse incentive that makes it that much more difficult. To me, we should celebrate that MP for putting their community first, so long as that decision is still within the values of their party.
Of values of the party, and also that decision was based upon what their constituents wanted of them, as opposed to, there's ego in politics.
That's it.
As opposed to an egotistical
or play. Ideology.
Yeah.
To me, what it comes down to is democracy should be more important than partisan politics.
True.
At the end of the day, most of us can agree on that, and yet we've allowed, under first past the post, which actually is designed to erode down to 2 parties, increasingly, whose policies are very similar.
True. Actually, even more now.
Yep. Even in the last 6 months, increasingly, as the governing party moves closer and further to the closer to the right, to me, you should be seeing even more MPs breaking party ranks. And we've seen one quit cabinet. You're going to likely see another quit to go in a leadership race for the provincial Liberals. For me, back to your original question, Darryl.
Yeah.
I just wanted to honor that sense of democracy first and foremost. And in a way, at the end of the day, what I feel about it is I feel like it's probably more difficult to get elected as a Green. I will admit that.
You throw red on your back, you win.
In some places.
Here.
Look at Kitchener Centre.
No, but it's you. Here.
Yeah, well, it's also...
mind you, that's actually doing that now. That would be tougher because you are who you are now, and then all of a sudden you change who you are.
Yeah, you're giving me a lot of credit, Darryl. There is Mike Schreiner in Guelph, and folks got a sense of what Mike did in Guelph as a Green and said, hey, can we get more of that? There were also hundreds of people who joined me. You don't do this as an individual. I know you talk a lot about hustle.
Sure.
I know how to hustle. I can work hard.
Actually, I switch. Hustle is one thing. I switch it to work now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we work hard.
Exactly.
I know how to work hard. Mm-hmm. The only reason that we came through with a win in 2021, though, was because of the number of volunteers who joined in and who felt this was worth their time for the ideas we were putting forward and for the way we tried to put them forward. And there's no way you get to, it's like 45,000 doors in Kitchener Center. You need hundreds of people to do that who believe in what you're trying to do.
I remember the last lady that came and saw me before the election.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I said, you can save your breath in a good way. We're covered. She goes, can I put a sign up? And I said, okay, as a realtor, that is suicide.
Yeah.
So I can't quite do that.
Yeah.
But I go, how could I not? And I actually pointed at my hat and I said, how could I not? Even though it's a different hat.
I hope the question that person first asked you
Yes.
would have been, what's important to you?
No, I think she might have. I don't remember. I think it was almost like, are you planning on voting?
Okay, great question too.
I think it might have been that.
Something we try to reinforce with volunteers on our team is like the typical question is, can we count on your support?
Right.
And to me, that's not something you start a conversation with.
Right.
You start the conversation with, what are the things you care about?
Yes.
Do you know how important it is to vote, however it is you might vote? Mm-hmm. And let me listen to you. It takes more time, but that's democracy. And that's how I heard about people with disabilities in our community living in poverty.
Right.
That's how I heard about, I never have the lived experience of what it's like to be black in our community.
Sure.
I have come to understand that better by hearing from the black community in Kitchener Center and the anti-racism work that we need to continue to do through that door knocking. Healthcare, the list goes on and on.
Yes.
Once you've done a good job listening to somebody,
yes,
and said, okay, here's the work I want to do, then you can move to a question like, can we count on your support? It does, like I say, it takes longer, but to me, that's democracy should have more listening and more empathy.
Yep, I agree. Who are some people that you have, over your time in Parliament, that you have learned to respect? Mm-hmm. Or who are some people that you would actually consider to be friends? And the reason why I ask that is I can only imagine, I remember your post, your first day at Parliament. You're going in there fresh. You don't have really many other people from your party that have had experiences to this level. So you're there gleaning information. So some of these people, maybe these people didn't even say anything to you, but people being people, and if you're being as aware as you are, you're probably super aware your first day. It's like, wow, I like the way they carry themselves. I like the way they speak with truth. I'm curious to maybe give me, and it's not a top 5, the first 5 that come to mind.
Sure.
And maybe what you found remarkable or special about these individuals.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the, first of all, I love the questions. The first part, though, let's be honest.
Okay.
I think many of us have had that imposter syndrome experience.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I can tell you my first day in Parliament, it was a trip.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the first things you do as a new MP is you have to vote for the speaker.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, our memories are funny like this, eh? That you kind of hold on to moments.
Yeah.
One of the moments that really struck me is we got into line to get to the ballot box to vote for our choice for speaker. And, right behind me in line is Adam Van Couverden, former Olympian, kayaker. And I think, who am I that I've got, Jagmeet Singh over there, Adam Van Couverden over here, and I'm sitting next to Elizabeth May.
Yeah.
That was, a bit of a trip.
Yeah.
And I think really important for me, and I think for others who ever experienced that, is to remind ourselves how much we deserve to be there.
Sure. Yeah.
And I remember that night talking with a close friend about it, and that friend reminded me that it may even be true that I may have worked harder than some others. Not everyone, but some others in that room that I may feel this imposter syndrome being around. But that was so important to then find my own voice, to be in a position to then, pretty strongly advocate, particularly when it came to some of the most difficult issues, when it came to speaking up against the genocide in Gaza, to the Prime Minister. You can't still have imposter syndrome when you're in the midst of a moment like that, speaking on behalf of your community. But for me, coming through that really came back to, I deserve to be here, and the folks of Kitchener Centre deserve a strong voice. And my job is to deliver that strong voice for them. That's what they sent me here to do.
Yes.
And I am proud looking back. If you look at the number of times I spoke, the amendments we got through on the Disability Benefit Act, we can go through that list. The kernel of doing that work, I think, started with, the kernel of that question of, wait a second, I deserve to be here.
Sure.
And going to the second part of that question, I'd say one of the most fun parts of the job became getting to know and develop friendships with so many other MPs from all parties.
You're right.
And at the end of the day, I came to understand it's all people.
Sure.
Whether, some groups of people, like family, can be more difficult.
Yes.
And there are some people in that place that I learned are there really to burn it down.
Right.
I learned that it's not just that we disagree on policy, but you disagree so much that you're just looking to erode folks' trust in government
those people
to do anything.
Yeah.
You want people to believe that the whole thing is lacking legitimacy, which isn't the case. And it was hard some days being in the same room, time and again, with some of those people. I became very, some of those partisan theatrics. Like, I look at the person and think, you're just putting on a show.
Well,
do you even believe, or you're just handed a script? But you were asking the positive side, and I'm going to the negative side. So let me talk about the positive side.
Sure.
Because I got to become really good friends with some people I deeply respect from all parties.
Okay.
So Laurie Idlout, as an example.
Okay.
Laurie was also a first-time MP when I elected in 2021, representing the riding of Nunavut with the NDP. And Laurie, I know, is there for her community.
Sure.
She chose a different party, but when it came to speaking up for First Nations across the country.
Climate, I would expect heavily.
And we agreed a lot on climate, but First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people, I knew that if Laurie was in support of something, I needed to make sure I was listening and learning from
her.
Laurie.
Yes.
And I knew that I could come to trust what she was saying, because I bet even within NDP circles, she would be pushing to make sure she asked that question the way she wanted to ask it.
Okay.
I'd say similar for Leah Gazan with the NDP as well. Became good friends with Taylor Backrack with the NDP as well. Northern, talk about getting to know people from different parts of the country.
Yes.
Northern BC.
Oh, wow.
We represented very different parts of the country. But, again, he was a strong climate voice. And he worked hard. He worked hard for his communities. And he also represented so many communities. But then even, the Bloc Québécois, a party of separatists. And I am a federalist, I believe, and I was born in Quebec.
Well, I was going to say, did you show him your birth certificate?
I sure did.
Okay.
We talked about my roots. I did also, and I continue to work hard on my French. I think it's so important that MPs can speak both official languages. We have two official languages in this country. There's a strong francophone presence in Waterloo region, but certainly was appreciated by my colleagues in the bloc.
Si c'est nécessaire, nous pouvons continuer notre conversation en français.
Ouais, on peut le faire en français aussi.
We're going to stop.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Actually, another thing I say when I go to high school classes to this day, because a lot of civics classes will ask current and former MPs in to chat, I don't believe in regret. Because you made the best decision you could at the time that you were in that position.
True.
And when I was in grade 10, I made the best decision I could. But I stopped French classes in grade 10.
Right.
And I'm now literally paying for it as I am in French classes to this day. But I became friends with a number of my bloc colleagues. You asked for specific names. So Alexis Brunel-Duceppe.
Sure, I recognize that name.
Well, because his dad was the leader of the Bloc Québécois,
That's why.
Gilles Duceppe, for a number of years. Alexei was really strong on human rights, and just the kind of guy that, at committee, if I had something I wanted to bring forward, he would say, you know what, Mike, why don't you use some of my time to do that?
Wow.
Just reasonable and decent. And some of these decent things that never get in the media. Sure. We never hear stories of these kinds of things. But he was one of them. In the Conservative Party, Scott Aitchison would be one.
Scott's a realtor. I actually personally know Scotty.
Yeah? Well, early days, he signed on to a letter I did on the disability benefit. He and Marilyn Gladu were the two Conservatives. Marilyn, I agree with on less of other policies, but she stepped in early, and before the party was supportive of the Canada Disability Benefit, she and Scott both signed a letter communicating their support and pushing the government to bring forward the legislation they said they were going to bring forward for the Canada Disability Benefit. I came to respect Michelle Rempel-Garner, who, again, there's a lot we disagree on.
Sure.
But as a communicator, she's strong on proportional representation. So we found something. I always try to find things we agree on.
Yes.
There was something we agreed on. But to this day, she's she'll explain her rationale. Even when I vehemently disagree with her, she'll explain that rationale. And I got to work with her on proportional representation and on innovation. She worked really hard on a committee around tech innovation. Our community's got a thing to say about innovation.
Indeed.
And so I had a number of times where I had witnesses from our community present to parliamentarians working with Michelle on that. And then certainly in the Liberal Party, one obvious one is Nate Ernskine-Smith. Sure. Karina Gold would be another. Karina, for a time, was the government house leader for the Liberals, and so I'd work with Karina when we were trying to get different legislation put forward. She's the MP for Burlington, so it wasn't far to get some time in person with her. And again, I think to myself, she's a young mom. She is, again, we don't agree on everything, but I know she's there with the best intentions, what she thinks is best for Burlington, and I really admire how she's able to communicate and in less partisan and less as a politician.
Yes.
I listen to her and I think she's just speaking from the heart, and she's finding a way to do it with one of the bigger parties.
True.
Which isn't easy in my view, and I'd say the same thing for Nate.
So when somebody brings a motion or questions somebody, right? How it boils me.
Yeah.
When nobody actually answers the question. So the question is, I guess my question, and you don't have to answer it. When the question at all isn't answered, it's a canned response. Is there truly a benefit in doing it the way we do it in Canada? Because people say, well, wouldn't it be fun if we were able to question Trump? But all I think to that is he wouldn't answer the question.
Yeah. So let's go back to why we end up with some of the non-answers we have.
Yeah. And how are you able to get away with that? And is there any way to change that?
So part of it is the interest in getting clips on social media.
Sure.
And the way that partisanship works is often in question period, you'll have the same question asked 9 times so that 9 MPs from that party can each get a clip for their donors on social media. And the person may have answered it the first time, and they're not answering it the next 8 times that it's asked just so they can get their clip. It may be gamed by the person asking the question because they know they're going to clip it, and they know that the person can't communicate the nuance behind the question in the 10 seconds or 35 seconds they have, and so they're going to game it that way as well.
Which is angering me from a different perspective right now.
And or it could also be about risk, and that party has said, we're not going to take the risk of answering that question truthfully because it might anger our base in this part of the country. So we're going to give a non-answer that's going to anger fewer people. At the end of the day, the way we solve all this, in my view again, you move towards a more collaborative way of working together, which is proportional representation, which removes some of this slicing and dicing of the country because we want this riding in this part of the country to hear this particular thing. It would lead to more parties actually trying to work together rather than playing silly games. It would lead towards less of this divisive rhetoric. I think at the end of the day, your question's answered by what is the incentive of the party and the MP. And what we should be doing is more closely aligning the incentives of the MP and the party with the kind of transparency and accountability that regular folks across the country want.
So it's almost like if the question could be accompanied with the goal to the answer to some degree, in that I'm going to ask you this question, but I'm not asking you the question to tear down your character. I'm asking this question to get to this end result that benefits either my constituents or the country.
Or the country. You got it. Let's use a very specific example. So one of the MPs I mentioned earlier that I respect, his name is Nate Ernskine-Smith.
Yes.
He has a podcast where he's pretty honest over the course of like 20 minutes of his positions that don't always agree with the party.
Oh, cool.
So as an example, he did a really nice long-form analysis of the budget. Well-researched, well-produced. I would recommend it. I don't agree with his end result. He voted for the budget.
Sure.
But he offers meaningful criticism of the budget. So far so that then what do the Conservatives do? They clip out the 10 seconds where he's most, controversial.
Yes.
And has the most negatives to say about the budget.
Yes.
And they then send out to their base, look, these guys don't even agree with their own policies. They've got MPs who are voicing opposition.
Yes.
And so we have an environment that doesn't incentivize MPs to follow Nate's lead and take that kind of an ambitious, transparent. Of course, his constituents have reelected him many times over.
Yes.
So he's been successful, but to see that success replicated is very difficult when you see the kind of attacks he has to withstand, all as a result of offering nuanced, thoughtful policy positions that aren't along his party line. So if you're in the party back room and you're saying, okay, how should we handle our communications?
Say it all has to get funneled through my handlers.
Well, and it's less likely you're going to take the 20-minute approach.
True.
More likely you're going to take the 20-second approach. What's the antidote that we have as regular people?
Curious.
Hey, the more engaged we are, the more engaged regular people are, the more you follow, the more you're reading in between and doing your own research to understand why that position was taken by that party or by that MP, even engaging with your MP about it. When we hold our democracy, not just at elections, it's not just about your vote, although voting is important and not enough people vote, and we can talk all about how we got to get voting numbers up. And obviously there's policies that need to be taken, like more voting options on campus, more voting days. There's lots that can be done. But in between elections, the more accountability we demand in the media and of our elected MPs, the stronger our democracy is going to be. Because then it's less likely that people are going to get misinformed. And then that adds then you add all of the bots and the added misinformation online, in addition to those who might be nefarious foreign actors who are then also putting the other layer. All of it comes down to part of why I say yes to every podcast request, part of why I love knocking on doors. I actually think this conversation is part of the antidote. And it is people who are hosting, if somebody wants to have me at their kitchen table with 12 friends to just chat.
You're there.
Yes, because it's that is the work of fighting back against fascism, fighting back against all the corrosive elements of partisanship, is getting people in the same room. You know, I feel honored when somebody says to me, Mike, I didn't vote for you, but I respect you.
Sure.
That is reasonable. Someone has done their research and they can at least see the work that we're doing together to engage in our democracy.
So if that's the case, though...
I still want to win elections, too.
Well, no, but actually, it's not even from that standpoint. If they say, I didn't vote for you, but I respect you, isn't the next step why?
Yeah, of course.
Right? And then I'm sure there's some people that, for instance, I just don't, I was having a cigar with I think he's probably a card-carrying liberal.
Yeah.
And your feelings on cigars aside, it wasn't Cuban. But anyways, so...
I can see past that.
Yeah, okay. But I think we were talking, there was some other sort of old-timers there too, and we were talking about some bills that had passed. And he goes, "That's ridiculous." I said, that's a liberal bill.
Yeah.
But he's just been a liberal for so long that, and I'm not saying that it's bad to be a liberal, but it's like, if you make that who you are, right, then
you get the blinders on.
Then what are we doing here? Right?
Yeah, well,
it's like saying I'm a Notre Dame fan. I'm just joking.
Well, but it goes far there. I'm not.
That was for the guy behind the camera. That's all that was. Okay.
I have examples I can share with you. I'm not going to name the party.
Yeah.
But parties who will not join in on a joint letter.
Yes.
Because they will only do it if they can plant their party flag in the issue, as if no one else agrees on that issue. Where the party becomes, it's tribal, it is more important than the policy. Yeah. Again, it's reinforced by the way we elect people.
True.
And if we had a more collaborative way of electing that'd be incentivized differently, it's the reason why you look in leadership races, they attack each other less.
Sure.
Part of it is because they don't use that same winner-take-all approach. And so they're incentivized to try to seek more common ground. We've designed a system where nobody is incentivized to seek that common ground. But we have people and parties who actually see the tribe and the party as actually more important than the policy. And once you've reached that point, it's so much more difficult. For my part, though, when I speak with somebody of that way of thinking, to me, there are things that are more important than votes.
True.
And one of those things is our democracy writ large. I will still have that conversation because at the very least that person can walk away and know that I still care about them as a person.
True.
I'm still interested in their way of thinking about the world and that their voice still matters. And then I'm going to move on to the next door where somebody might be undecided and there's a chance they might end up supporting. And I got to talk with enough of those people if I hope to get elected again.
True.
But I do think it's important to engage with everybody, including that card-carrying friend of yours.
Yes.
Even if those can be some of the toughest conversations, they're the ones that are worth having. So kudos to you for having them, because some of us can, look through the pandemic. People lost friendships and family members were divided. Some of this stuff can really erode connection and connectivity. And that's when I think that's a much more dangerous path.
And I think it's not even that, because he just thinks that's ridiculous, which is fine. And which one was it? Anyways, we're not going to get into. I do remember which policy it was, but the thing is, this is just acknowledge it, right? Like. It doesn't mean you're not a liberal. You could still probably be more liberal than anything else. Well, but then also don't completely crucify another party because you don't agree with one of their issues as well.
We also get to choose where we focus our time and attention.
True.
And it looks like in that conversation you had a choice about where you focused your time and attention, and I get to choose to do the same thing.
True.
And I see the parties who focus their time and attention on the most divisive issues because they know it's what's going to rally the most votes for their cause. It's actually not about the issue.
No.
It's that they know that
it's not about the country either.
No. It's about dividing for their ability to get more votes under that segment of the population.
Yes.
I would rather focus on the things where on housing as an example, there's probably a lot we can agree on, and I found common ground with other parties on and sought money and was able to get money in our community to build projects like 97 Victoria, which is 44 units of supportive housing thanks to the Working Center. I'd rather spend more time on that than just fan the flames of partisan hackery.
Yeah.
And I think, the Greens actually stand to benefit. I think that's where Elizabeth has been successful in the past. It's where Mike Schreiner's been successful. And there's also room. We have to make space for, some of the more difficult conversations. Why is it that 65 billionaires have as much wealth as, 35% of all Canadians?
Because that's the way the system's built.
Well, it's going to take some pushback to change it.
Yeah.
And so we need space for both. But we don't need to fan the flames of the...
So actually, I'm going to jump in on that, though. Because those billionaires, I think, play a massive role in media and distribution. And what's your role in... And I guess maybe you didn't pay attention to what national media did, the role national media played. Maybe not wholehearedly until you really became, well, I'm going to call you a non-politician.
Thank you.
I think when you said fanning the flames of party partisanship, I like the idea of you dousing the flames of party partisanship.
Amen to that.
That might actually be the title for this podcast. It probably will be. What? I think you know where I'm going with this. What's your take on how do we deal with media? How do we make ourselves aware of what media is trying to do? Because I guess they're selling views, right? But in many cases, I think, because media is the one that is, the rich people are the ones that own most of the medias, except for the medias that are ego-driven medias.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll say the name Rebel News. I get a clip from that. Okay, I'm sure there's some shred of truth in that, but whoa, there's a lot of anger packed behind it too.
Yeah, Rebel News is not media. Rebel News.
I'm just saying, there's if you're showing me a clip, I'm sure there's some truth in it, but wow, is that framed to just anger?
That's right.
And divide?
That's right.
Right.
And so I would encourage folks to look at which U.S. pension funds own which media conglomerates, and when you read the National Post, maybe the perspective is influenced by the pension fund that owns.
Right.
So, as a starting point, I believe really strongly in a public broadcaster, and this is one of the reasons. While many seek to erode trust in CBC, one of the most important aspects of a public broadcaster is that they are not privately owned.
Right.
And so there is inherently less bias. We need a strong public broadcaster to increase the accessibility of journalism and the media to more people in more markets across the country. And we need it to inform the public discourse. We also need podcasts like this.
Yeah.
We need, and this is why, the Waterloo Region Record and other local media outlets and, local media personalities are important. But to the original point around, why is it's difficult to, tax the billionaires is who's got the platforms, and the mainstream media very often platforms those same 65 people.
True.
One of them is a CEO of a tech company, and that person seems to get unlimited access to op-eds in one of the national papers whenever they want it, whenever there's a policy they don't agree with.
Yes.
And, my friend living with a disability, when they get their, measly amount of the Canada Disability Benefit, and we all know that we should be raising folks above the poverty line, that person doesn't have access to an op-ed in a national paper. So we do need to be critical of media. I think we want to encourage more of the media that we do want, which means joining as a Patreon member of the local subscription of a provider that you believe in. It means supporting the CBC, and it means supporting the arts more broadly. And it means having a critical eye when you read something from, Ezra Levant.
Yeah. That's
Look at who's benefiting. Yep. Follow the money trail. It used to be in the climate world, there was a group called De-Smog Blog. And they would point you to who is funding this voice that is eroding trust in climate science. And 99.5% of the time, wouldn't you know, it's a fossil fuel lobbyist disguised as an editorial opinion of some kind. So I do think that critical lens is important. But if you take one thing from it, it's we gotta invest in our public broadcaster. We gotta invest in local journalism, because there are so many voices who are out there just to destabilize.
Mike, I could keep going. I think I want to keep going, but I also want people to not be scared by the timeline at the bottom of this. I'll tell you what I've learned today. That you probably actually sleep well at night.
Yeah.
Especially now that you have a 6-month-old.
Well, that's mixed.
But it's kind of one of those things that, and we chatted about this before, that, okay, yes, you have to deal with some tough cookies when you're an MP. And probably the loudest voices are the people that didn't even vote for you.
Yep.
Whether it's their egos on the line, or they don't like you, or they just learned that being the loudest squeaky wheel gets the most grease. I'm also learned that you are not influenced by grease. Whether that's petroleum or otherwise, I find it admirable that you're leading from a place of conviction and integrity. And I hope, for the benefit of our country, that there are more voices that are able to come from different parties that don't have to vote under party lines and can speak on behalf of the people that voted them in a democratic manner, because I think that's where our country has a chance to get better. Now, in terms of the media's role, I don't know about that, because that funding part would have to be a standard funding amount that's paid from the government year in, year out.
That's right.
So they're not relying on the governments themselves being the squeaky wheel.
That's right.
I wish you nothing but the best. And there's no doubt in my mind that you speak your truth. And even though I led you down sort of talkable point lines, from knowing you before, I know you actually live under the adage of 2 ears is more than one mouth. However, use that mouth to speak on behalf of the people here in Kitchener Centre and from our region. You give me goosebumps. I'm proud of you, brother.
Thanks, man.
Mike, Morrice, we're going to probably have to do a part 2.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Thanks,
Appreciate
brother.
you.
Appreciate you too. There you go.